Jen, you there?
I'm still here. No, I
Oh, okay,
agree.
sorry. It got dead quiet, so I wasn't sure what happened.
I died.
Well, that's
My
a
my
charming.
life purpose to see A Christmas Prince 3 completed what was left.
You are listening to Chicagoland's finest podcast. The all-new Culture Cast begins now.
I'm Nick,
I'm Jen.
and we're back with another episode of the all-new Culture Cast. And joining us tonight is my wet hacking cough
Oh,
that I've
wonderful.
I've gotten. Yes, it's the Christmas time with a huge cold. We've all been sick on my side of the woods. The two little girls and my wife for the past week, now almost 2 weeks, at various points. So it's great. It's fun. How are you doing, Jen? It's been a while since we chatted.
No, that's true. I have been so busy, end of the year stuff, work, etc. I am very glad. I don't exactly have like the last 2 weeks of the year off or anything, but like essentially, when you hit that kind of end of the year, like nothing's actually going to happen at work, and like upper management thinks something's going to happen, but here's the thing: nothing is going to
Nothing.
happen. No, everyone is going to just be chatting, eating, hanging out, doing their Christmas shopping. Not saying I did that today at work, but like if I had, could you blame me? I did put it off until the last minute.
That explains why I haven't gotten my gift from you yet.
Yeah. Well, I did. One thing I did do during lunch was put together my Christmas cards. So yours is
Ah,
in the pile. Later, Thor is going to stamp them all. We bought some very fun stamps, so he's gonna make some decisions. So when you get your stamp, I need you to like look at the stamp and like decide. Just like know in your heart that like it was something that Thor thought about, because I love stamps. This is a fairly recent thing in my life. I decided I love stamps ever since UPS started sending me the stamp book that comes every 6 months or so, where they're like, here, you can buy all this stuff, and it's stamp themed. I mean, I don't do that, but I do try to buy weird stamps, and just like have them. So that's a very long story to say that like when you are getting married, you do try to like look up what kind of stamps are available. And so when we got married last year, it was also, as you may all know, we live in Illinois, and we wanted to have Illinois 200 anniversary stamps on our invites. So that's what we ended up buying for all of our invitations. I had to order them online because, of course, if you go to the post office, they have like three different kinds of stamps, and two of them are flags.
mhm.
So ever since I kept buying all these stamps online, because of course you get married, you've got to have the stamps on the invite, the stamps on the response, and the stamps on the thank you cards. So we went
Yes.
through a lot of stamps in 2018, is I guess the long and the short of it. So this year, various stamps that will grace our Christmas cards include, let's see, some art, some rivers, some dinosaurs, and some Halloween stamps. So anyway,
Ah, okay.
be ready.
I when I send Christmas cards out, I just put, Christmas stamps on them because it feels season appropriate, but
Yes,
you know,
it is. It is.
just
But you know
good,
what's
good, good
more
old
season?
Santa Claus.
You know what's even more seasonally appropriate? Halloween stamps.
No,
Hmm.
and I appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah.
The Kiwi and I, we like sending out fun Christmas cards every year, and one of the ideas I have, which I'm sure is going to be flatly rejected, is to send out like Halloween themed Christmas cards one year, or send out Hanukkah cards. I think that would be hilarious. But not many people get my humor, so I don't think it would go over as well as I think it would. So it's a fair assessment for us to not do that.
Hmm. Well, that's fair.
So,
Well, you
well,
have to keep in mind, we don't have children. We have stamps.
you have to have something, and
Yeah, yeah.
children's stamps. At the end of the day, it's all the same thing.
At the end of the day, they're both sticky.
Yes, that is true, and they get everywhere on things you don't want them to get on.
Perfect.
So, and they take your money every year, more and more.
That's also true.
I'm going to work on this analogy for the next like 6 months, and we'll revisit it.
I am really into our new stamp podcast for stamps.
Yeah, You know, the sad thing is there's probably is someone out there that does like a stamp podcast, which is probably the most boring thing in the world. I don't mean to say collecting stamps is boring. If that's your jam, who am I to say? I mean, I get it, but like talking about stamps, like I feel there's like only so much you can say.
You know, every time I think that, I do find a podcast on whatever that topic is. So you think like, okay, what could people possibly have to talk about re stamps? And then it turns out that actually, I'm going to look this up right now. I
Yeah,
just
I'm googling it myself too.
stamp collecting podcast.
Best stamp podcast. I wonder if like stamp is like a podcast term, like not actual about stamps.
I see one called Stamp Show Here Today, which
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now
yeah,
too.
I like that. I like that a lot because it's very long. And also doesn't really seem to fit.
This podcast that is all about stamps, stamp collecting, postal history, hosted and made for stamp collectors of all levels. I wonder how many episodes they actually have.
I will say, and again, I think our listeners, they love when we talk about stamps.
Holy smokes!
How many?
Well, if I'm reading this right, they're at 243 episode, and they have one like every single week, which is like,
It's a lot of news.
yeah. I will say they're about a half hour in length, so that makes a little more sense. But
No, I was gonna say I did when I was in DC. I don't know, 6 years ago. I did go visit the postage museum, the postal service museum, and it was pretty interesting. There have been some post office workers who have lost their lives on the job, including one dog.
and our hearts go out to them.
Mm-hmm. All right, so pop culture.
Yeah, as thrilling as stamps are, let's move on to also thrilling things. We are talking about our it's become an annual tradition around these parts, and I'm happy about it. And I hope it continues to become an annual tradition in which
Absolutely.
we talk about the latest Netflix movie, A Christmas Prince, The Royal Baby. This is the third entry in the Christmas Prince saga. You know, 2019 brought us a lot of endings and climactic finales to many wide-ranging of popular franchises. Some people were like, Avengers, that's the thing I'm looking forward to. Other people are like, no, it's Game of Thrones.
Right.
Other people are like, no, Star Wars, that's what I'm waiting for. For me, it's been A Christmas Prince, The Royal Baby.
Absolutely.
And I say that with no irony at all. I've been a fan of this series, which I realize is not great, but it's entertaining enough. I've been a fan of this series since the beginning because they had a weird. What was it, Jen? Didn't they say they like someone was like binging this like day after day? The movie?
In 2017 when the first movie came out, Netflix made a tweet about how somebody had watched, in the 12 days since it had come out or something, had watched A Christmas Prince 53 times. Or maybe it was every day for 53 days, but I think it was 53 times within like a fewer than 53-day period. And, we're kind of like, you okay? And I was like, amazing. But like somebody was like, you know what I want? I want to do a lot of laundry, but also not be alone with my own thoughts. Wonderful.
Yeah, and because of the success, it spawned 2 sequels. And apparently, as part of a cinematic universe that I read the other day, that the other Netflix movies somehow make references to each other in some weird way, shape, or form, which is interesting. I don't actually expect them to have some sort of crossover movie where they have to defeat a genocidal maniac from destroying half the world, but I guess anything's possible. I mean, who knows? But it's interesting they're doing this. But hey, more power to them.
Absolutely. And honestly, like for the super fans, the people that spend Christmas watching, say, The Christmas Elevator or The Christmas Inheritance or The Christmas Pineapple or whatever, like I think they all deserve those little like in jokes, those little like nods that say like, hey, we know you don't have friends.
We're validating your obsession. All right, but let's talk about A Christmas Prince, The Royal Baby. Jen, can you give us not a synopsis, but what's the premise of this one?
So, And it's a little it's a little hard to summarize such a deep and interesting plot, but basically, so we have Queen Amber. She's a queen now. She got married in that weird crinkly dress from the last movie, and so she got married, and so now she's the queen, and nothing has happened other than that she got pregnant on a honeymoon that appears to be just like back in like 1995 when like Windows your screensaver would be like a random beach and they just kind of like put their heads in front of it and were like they're on a honeymoon.
Like that's not green screened at all.
No. But so they anyway, so they're pregnant. Well, she's pregnant, and they are going to have this baby on January 11th. This is a very important plot point later in the movie. But it's a few days before Christmas, and it's very important that they sign a peace treaty that has been going for 600 years with a made-up Asian country. So they have to sign this every 100 years to renew the promise between, so they don't have to go to war. And then
it's more ceremonial than anything else.
It is very ceremonial. There is, I will say, a very funny line later where they say that the war would just be lawyers, which, yes. Yes, at this point it would just be lawyers. So anyway, this other royal couple has come to visit, leaving their children at home, and then the treaty scroll goes missing, and normally that would be okay because, as we all know, this is just, pretend diplomacy, but small child and younger sister Emily says that the problem is that Amber will be cursed. Amber's baby will be cursed if this scroll isn't found and the treaty isn't signed. So shenanigans ensue. The baby that's not due until January 11th makes an early surprise appearance. Oh, who could have guessed? And, in the end, I think we all learn a valuable lesson.
Yes.
Absolutely.
There are so many things you brought up in that plot summary there that just makes me, I have so many questions about various things because the stakes in this movie could not be any lower.
They could not.
I enjoyed this overall for what Absolutely. It was, but I will say it's a step backwards from the second one, which I think is the best of the series so far, which is difficult for me to say that because these are Hallmark movies and they're meant to be entertaining and enjoyed, but they're not meant to be particularly good or deep. So we're saying like, well, the second one was better. It's like we're not talking about Godfather 2 here. We're talking about A Christmas. Right. So it definitely seemed like they couldn't come up with a caper that would have been as intriguing or as the last two. I will say I did not expect who the villain ultimately turned out to be, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Right, I think ultimately that comes down to the characters are all paper thin, so it's hard to think like who would have a motivation to do this when we don't know what motivates them to move from one side of the room to the other.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they put a lot of red herrings. They thought, oh, maybe it's the jerk cousin who was the bad guy in the first one. But no, that's too obvious.
I very much appreciated that over the three movies, Simon's role was like, first time, straight up villain, right? Second time, goofy, like, villain who still gets to live at the castle, ? Third one, he's still there. Amber's still suspicious of him. He seems like he might be having an affair on best friend, who does seem to get a name. I feel like she did not have a name in the previous two, or perhaps she did, but it was only because it was written on the IMDb page. So then you're like, oh my god, his whole arc is that he actually was a villain the whole time. But then he's like, no, just kidding. And then for some reason at the end when they're like, hey, we have this baby, everyone look at our baby. And also here's our cousin who once tried to commit a lot of crimes, but now just lives in our castle, ? Amazing.
Yeah, that's that. And we also, there's a lot of a red herring that the assistant of the other country, the mysterious Asian country that all have British accents.
All have British accents, but also like celebrate Christmas, which is not what you
Yeah.
necessarily expect of the royal family in any random Asian country necessarily.
Well, apparently this royal family, this Asian country, is bordered up against like the Swiss Alps, as East Asian countries tend to be.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out the geography of the world that this place lives, this world that it takes place in, but because it makes no sense to me at all. But uh, uh, I even forgot what I was saying. I'm so doped up at the moment I can't even remember what I'm saying. But
No, that's okay. I think too it's just the joy and the excitement of getting to talk about this movie because I feel like
it's true.
if you really like Star Wars, you got people to talk to. If you really like Game of Thrones, half of Twitter would engage you. But like who wants to talk about The Christmas Prince 3? I do. There's
Yeah,
probably
I'm
a
with
corner of Twitter.
Well, we got to find that person who watched the first one like 53 times or something like that and get them on the show.
If you're out there, please email us at whatever our email address is so that we can make this happen. We will feature you in 41 episodes.
I hate
Yes.
to break it to you there, but the people who are watching A Christmas Prince are all over the age of like 55. That's why they're not on Twitter.
Hey, if they're over
Check
the
out
age
a
of
knitting
55,
circle, but not like
they-
a hipster.
I'm sorry. Thor would like us to check out a non-hipster knitting circle if such a thing still exists.
Where people talk like this.
Thor believes that everyone over the age of 50 has a Minnesotan accent.
and if they're over the age of 55, they clearly don't know how to use Netflix. So,
Well, yeah, that's fair. Is it cruel? Yes. Is it fair? Yes.
am I being ageist? You bet. I'm a millennial. I'm allowed to do that.
So you have two children.
I do.
Did
Yes.
you? Here's the part I found very funny. As a non-parent,
Uh-huh.
the part where Dr. Magoro, Amber's obstetrician,
Yes.
and yes, I did just go look that up on Wikipedia. She's when Amber is starting to feel the contractions, aka the surges, and her doctor, she calls the doctor, or Bland Prince calls the doctor. The obstetrician says, "Oh, you can't be giving birth now. You're due on January 11th," and it's like December 24th.
Yes.
I don't know
Well,
why I found that so funny, but I laughed.
It's a doctor can be surprised like that, but if the patient is saying, "Oh, I'm feeling the contractions," I mean, there are having gone through. Well, my wife actually went through it, but I was there, so I think I could talk with some sort of authenticity, going through what happens when one gives birth and parents have their kid come into the world. The movie got a lot of that wrong, which it was a movie, so you can't like. It's one of those things you have to just hand wave away. Like they didn't provide they didn't provide her any meds, which maybe she didn't want them, but whatever. It seemed like she just, well, I'm going to hop into bed now and give a baby. I'm like, okay, that's one way to do it. Of course, her makeup and everything was perfect after giving birth.
Definitely.
Which again, that's a movie, so you got the conceit with that. I love how babies are the loudest things known to mankind. And I love how the baby was not like loud or needed to feed or anything, because babies tend to be, hey, I'm alive. Oof, I'm hungry. Let's get some lunch. But baby's just quiet and calm, and they let everyone in the room all at once, which is something that probably wouldn't happen. But then they're the king and the queen, so they can do whatever they want, I suppose. I'm surprised the doctor wasn't there on staff, like in case
live
this.
in, right?
Yeah. Like, well, I'm sure. Now, I'm no royal,
Sure.
believe it or not, but I would imagine that in a big castle, they would have their doctors that are just residents on staff strictly for the royal family.
I feel like, especially if you have space to just house your good-for-nothing cousin.
Yes.
And various American friends and your old wedding planner, and just everyone else who just seems to be in the castle at any given moment. It does seem like
It's a big castle.
There's
Yeah.
space.
And I feel
At the very
like
least, you can put them in the dungeon.
Yeah, I feel like the staff and the people in this castle has decreased over time in these movies. Because I remember the first movie, there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of people running around doing stuff. In this movie, there was like, I don't know, 5 people total who were on staff for this royal family. Like there's no
Right.
security. It blew my mind that there was absolutely no media at this historic signing that only happens once every 100 years.
But
You
then,
think,
right. Weirdly, too, you have one set of royals and you think, okay, well, maybe security is like at the door or something, right? But like, then they bring in another set of royals who apparently got here with one assistant.
yeah,
Like no one else. And like, for some reason, I thought it was very funny that they like didn't bring their kids. Because at first I was like, okay, well, they don't necessarily get Christmas break if if their country is like Buddhist or something, But no, they celebrate Christmas, so I guess the kids just don't want to travel. If the kids are even in school, keep in mind because they may be,
there's that.
They may be homeschooled, or castle schooled. So
Yes.
I thought it was very funny that they couldn't bring their kids to this like historic once in a lifetime sort of event, and they were just like,
You would think they would bring
Yeah.
them just because it's like this will not happen for generations from now. And that there was like no security. Like when they said, "Oh, let's all go into town and go to the market," it it was just like it would be like as if the Kiwi and I call you and Thor up, being like, "Hey, let's go downtown," and you're like, "All
Yeah.
right," and you
we
think
tend to leave our security detail at home when it's just the four of us. You know what I mean?
yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had a coughing fit there.
Perfect.
But what's also interesting is if even in America, let's compare this country to America, just for a moment. Even when we have a major political leader like the president or someone who's overwhelmingly liked, like just 98 approval rating, everyone's voting for him. Like I'm thinking like how Reagan was in the 80s, how like he won like all the states. There's at least a small segment of that population that will hate their leaders regardless of whatever good things they do or bad things.
Absolutely.
And I would imagine, despite all the good stuff that Richard and Amber have done for Aldovia, there's got to be some crazy people who live there that'd be like, I'm going to kill the king. Because they'd be able to do it because they have no security and they go out.
There's no security. I mean, I guess there was a snowstorm, so like maybe no one can get around in a snowstorm. I mean, you saw how that doctor who was also playing with her phone while driving immediately drove into a snowbank.
True. But
Yeah.
I'm talking about when they went down to like the market. Like
Yeah,
the market
that
was
was-
filled with people.
It was very funny because originally, and then of course everyone was like, "Hey guys." What I thought was very funny was that it was like for a while when they were like, "Oh, no one can make this historic signing because of the snow," and then they were like, "Oh, also there's too much snow, so we can't leave." I was like, they're trying to do the bottle episode for a Christmas Prince. It's like when they do a Friends episode and no one leaves the apartment. They're like,
Right.
which oftentimes those are the best episodes, but like also Friends had a budget and the characters felt like human people. So it was a little different, but they're all like locked in this castle, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, actually we can just walk down the street. And I did sort of feel like, okay, but you did say the weather was crazy.
Right. There's a lot of inconsistencies here.
There's logical flaws.
Like I feel like you mentioned how there's a line in the movie which, oh, if we have to go back to war, then it'll be all on the lawyers. I'm
Right.
thinking, but how? Why? Like the state, if they don't sign this thing, maybe on some weird technicality they'll be at war. But they've stated many times that this other country, I can't even think what the name of it is.
It is. No, I can tell you this. Penglia.
Penglia.
Yeah.
Okay, Penglia. They said they're our closest ally. Well, okay, if they're your closest ally now, wouldn't you be like, all right, no more war. Well, we're not going to fight you. I mean, they even
We'll
said they
just
don't have
make
any
it happen.
armies.
Yeah, I did love the line about how neither had a standing army. The thing that I found kind of very funny about this was also, so they were like, well, obviously that's not a good enough threat because neither of them have any war. So somebody in the writers' room, and in the weekend in which they wrote this movie, they were like, okay, so we know that it doesn't make any sense that this otherwise friendly country would just go to war because they didn't sign this piece of paper that's very fancy. So we need to have some other threat. And that's when they were like, also, this ghost baby, this ghost baby,
Yes.
but like this ghost will like haunt this baby, curse this baby. And I was like, amazing. And I feel like a practical New Yorker who wants to stand up during her delivery is not going to be like, oh, my baby's going to be cursed. But then Amber was just like, no, this could curse my baby. Like, it's not enough that I, had a baby with like this human version of cardboard. I also am now cursing it by not signing this treaty, this very fancy piece of paper.
Yeah, that surprised me too that Amber just completely bought into it because she's a reporter.
She's a reporter. Well, and a blogger.
Blogger. Well, her original job, she has a journalism background regardless.
Yeah.
And if a 10-year-old or however old this girl is, the younger sister is supposed to be.
I think she's like 14 now. She had her first kiss in the first movie, so I think 12's a good age for that.
Okay, I can go with that. If a little kid comes up to me and says, there's a curse on you, like, yeah, okay, that's cute. Go play with your friend. But like she buys into it. The curse. It's a curse. The only thing you think of is she had pregnancy brain. And when you have pregnancy brain, and I don't mean this in any disrespectful or anything bad, but you don't quite think right because you got, other things going on. Hormones are all over the place. Emotions are all over the place. You're not going to be thinking quite right, especially in a high-stress situation, which I'm sure her life actually is. But
very busy coming up with, for instance, ways to support pregnant women. I also loved when Queen Ming was like, after my difficult pregnancy, because she's also like Queen Ming, was supposed to get on an airplane, presumably flying coach. I'm not clear. And then Amber is giving birth and she's like, oh, I've got to stick around and like help because, there's only so many queens in this world. And she's like, get me a paint roller so I can massage her back or whatever. She's talking about like, oh, I realized how hard it is when people give birth. So now I've put these policies in place that are going to, that would help women who are pregnant. And then Amber's like, oh yeah, I want to do the same thing here, but like with some updates. And you think like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a real moment of tension. Because, I think at the beginning you kind of see Ming feeling like, oh, Amber's so beloved and I'm not beloved, even though my husband, Queen, also cardboard, says that I'm beloved, but I don't feel beloved. And so you thought there was going to be like something happening there. And you're like, oh, this could be a real moment of tension where like Amber feels like these policies put in place were not enough. But then it just cuts and then she's like, oh, now I'm going to have my baby and I guess everything's fine. So I just thought that was like a really interesting, like in the version of this movie that's like real good. I feel like that would have been a really interesting subplot. You know what I mean? Like it just,
I agree with you 100% because the movie starts out with having the Queen Ming being sort of like antagonistic, and I thought, oh, she's going to be probably one of the villains. Mm-hmm. But no, like within 15 minutes, they play some stupid tree game, and they're all friends. I'm like, oh, I'm guessing there was an earlier plot, like an earlier draft of the screenplay that had her more antagonistic that just got changed over time. I don't know.
I mean, I think at the beginning she seems a little cranky, and then they're like, oh, she's like, I have to go call my 3 children who, and I hope their castle has more people. I hope there's more people in the castle and someone's like watching the kids and it's not just like, they didn't just hand them $20 for like pizza, or like left them with some ramen or like whatever. I hope they left them with like real good pizza, but,
maybe they'll have, maybe the cook from the, last movie is working for them now.
Ooh. Yes, the one from the diner. I will say, oh gosh. So I was a little disappointed we didn't get more of Rudy. I think Rudy in the second movie just seemed entirely unhinged.
Yes.
So I was kind of hoping we'd see more of him. Clearly they were like, okay, we have enough money to shoot you in this airport, which is a bucket seat, and then we're going to also bring you in at just the last moment. I believe he did get to go out there when Amber and the king are holding up the baby, and I think he
Yes.
also got to be there, which felt a little bit better than like cousin Simon and also best friend from America, where those are two where I was like, well, I don't entirely understand. I'm not saying you're not all friends. I just don't know that you'd stand out. Like, I don't feel like Harry and Meghan when they had their baby, and I could be wrong. I didn't pore over the baby pictures on account of babies aren't that interesting. But when they had their baby, I don't remember them being up there. And then like also here's two parents, and then also like a cousin and his girlfriend,
like Princess Eugene and whoever she was dating at the time. Like they were just hanging out.
Now getting married, I think. So yeah, but they weren't just like there, at the hospital. Now, granted, she got to give birth in a hospital, but like Queen Amber obviously didn't get to give birth in a hospital. But for all the trouble they were having with the roads, like everyone seemed to get there just in time for the announcement and the showing off of this baby.
I love how Rudy just wanders into the castle like he was an actor.
Someone's watching the door. They just gave him a key, and he's like, "Cool."
I will say the movie had they did have a funny line in it where they said like, "Oh, we've been meaning to beef up security after you snuck in," and they just
That's right.
When they were talking to Amber.
Amazing.
Because like everyone could just come and go at will, and like when the friend like magically surprises and shows up, like they don't announce that who it is. It's like, we have someone here to see you. Like you didn't see who it was. Like you just let them in the castle without like clearing it with someone of importance. I mean, it's just
to be fair, they Simon lives there? ? I mean, so if she was a guest of Simon, maybe they announced her in a different room or something. I know as royalty, I would not want to be bothered every time my dirtbag cousin brought over a buddy.
Maybe she's on like I wonder if they have like an all clear list, like, hey, I'm so and so, and like, oh, you're on the list, just go on in.
It's all just Amber's friends and relatives.
No, she has like one relative and two friends.
I know. But now one of those friends has a boyfriend, and the other one has Simon, and so that ups the list to 5. I can't imagine Simon's getting in under the king's friendship list. So obviously it's under Amber's.
Right.
It could be anyone who's reading her blog. The thing that was just so funny to me. This is so silly, but like they clearly patterned this movie after Meghan, right? Like obviously not in terms of her being black, but in terms of her being like an American, and then she
having to sign a treaty with a foreign country that goes missing. That's what the media didn't tell you about that part.
Right. Just like the treaty they had the Spare and his girlfriend sign. So anyway, so obviously they patterned this whole series after Meghan because they were like, okay, Kate, old news, not as interesting a story. Bring in the new one.
When did the first one come out before or after the whole Meghan Markle thing really ramped up?
See, that's a great question. I thought so. It came out in 2017, and did they get together? I'm looking this up because this will bother me now, but I'm pretty sure they've been together for at least 2 years because they also dated before they announced that they were dating. You know what I mean?
Right. Which I almost wonder if the first one was just a movie, and then the two sequels were like, oh, let's pattern. Like it was a happy coincidence that the Meghan Markle thing happened around the same time for inspiration.
So apparently, this is interesting. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. This says that according to AGC, which is Atlanta News Now, AGC.com, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Yeah, Meghan Markle, a relationship timeline. They dated for more than 2 years before they announced their engagement in November 2017. So they met in 2016. I'm sorry. Wait, no. In November 8th, 2016, so a year before this movie, Kensington Palace confirms Harry is dating Markle by issuing a statement calling for the end to sexist and racist harassment of Markle on social media. She is referred to as Harry's girlfriend in the November 8th, 2017 statement from his communications secretary. I'm sorry, 2016. So we did, by the time they created this movie, Meghan Markle had been public news for at least a year. So I swear it's got to be based on her. Except obviously this girl is white and a reporter instead of an actress, and very boring instead of an actress. So, but anyway, so we knew this was all coming. I can't remember why I started talking about this. It seemed important at the time, though. Give me a second. So obviously they're patterning this whole series after Meghan Markle because as soon as the second movie happened, they were like, okay,
They went all in.
I hope she's going to get pregnant. And then she did get pregnant, and they were like, Yahtzee. Because we already wrote this script last weekend.
I was looking at the the filming for this one, the third one, took place between March and June of 2019. So I don't know what the Netflix scheduling pattern is for like these films that get sequels and everything, but it was green-lit that's pretty quickly after the second one to like start filming 3 months after it hit Netflix. So assuming they didn't start it until after the second one was released, they got into that pretty quick. Contracts in place, scripts written, and everything else. So it was a rush job, which this movie does kind of feel like a rush job, especially in the writing department.
Absolutely. I do not even believe they have, they wrote the script and they were like, cool, and then they did not reread it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no rereading of the script later to be like, do any of our characters have motivations?
Mm-hmm.
No. Like, when you think, like, could Simon have committed this crime? And you think, yeah, why not? The other thing I really loved that just felt completely... sometimes you watch a movie and you're like, okay, somebody clearly talked to somebody about how this works. Like, I don't necessarily understand how, nuclear physics works, but like somebody on set understands how this works, even if I'm not following it. But like, clearly when you look at this, you're like, okay, did somebody talk to somebody who knows stuff about royalty? And they were like, no, because the assistant, who also knew Simon in college and went on 2 dates with him. They were secretly, were they having an affair? Absolutely not. But they were working on something to do with the treaty that would be beneficial to both sides.
Yeah, some with economics, so to get rid of the debt, or yeah.
Right. Which, like, I will give the movie this. I will give the movie this. One characteristic that they have given Simon is that he did like go to school and study economics, and like we learned about that in the first movie when they were like, should he be the king? And you were like, actually, maybe kind of, like he does actually seem to know what's happening here. So like that was a thing that actually like they said and then they remembered, and I was very proud of them. I felt like Amber must have felt about this small, not very interesting baby. But just like really proud of my movie. But like at the same time, I'm not super clear why the assistant / security from this, / the only person watching over the king and queen of this other country is also like able to broker treaties on behalf of something.
Her job is incredibly vague on what she actually does. But it's clear that she has the ear of the king and the queen. So
right.
Maybe Simon was like, listen, we know each other. I got these plans. Work with me on this. And then you could bring it up to your side because they listen to you. And I can bring it to my side because I talk whether they want to hear it or not. And
perfect. Because it was just interesting because it was like she clearly like was their assistant, but also like makes buys airplane tickets or something, but like also brokers treaties with ex-boyfriends, like
as
very.
one does.
There's an interesting story there that they breezed right past.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of this movie was just wheel spinning. I think they thought they had like a really neat whodunit mystery. Like the thing I liked about the second one was there was a lot of like, all right, we're going to investigate this, and we're going to find we're going to get Scooby and the gang together. We're going to track down this mystery. And this one like did not have that, and that instead of like doing that, it was more like little set pieces while these two like sets of kings and queens hung out together and had fun and went to the market and went skating, and it's like, okay, let's Come on, let's like I mentioned earlier, the stakes were so low in this movie that they're
Right.
almost non-existent.
They had to add in a curse just to
Yeah.
make sure that they had some sort of urgency to go look for the fancy paper.
Right, but like the characters didn't seem like they were all that concerned about the fancy paper. Like, oh, well, we'll find it. Hey, let's go to the market. You know, it's like they don't. It's like I don't know.
They know ultimately it's very silly and no one's going to go to war, and like it would be good if we found the fancy paper. We should have maybe locked the room the fancy paper was in.
Which is bizarre that they did not do that.
I did have some questions, especially given how many, random, possibly evil cousins are hanging around at any given point, or how they don't lock the front door. Like, if you're not going to lock the front door, at least lock the door with the fancy paper,
I will say, and I'll give the movie this: the reveal of who the villain was, Mr. Little, who is a reoccurring character in the past two movies, as like a side servant to the different characters. I was not expecting that they would have one of their established players be the bad guy.
That is interesting because, but I will say at the end of the second movie, I definitely felt like it was a lot of times in, kind of at like the end of TV shows, like long running TV shows, or, like romantic comedies. A lot of times you'll see kind of the pairing off of a bunch of different people because,
Yes.
In many ways, people love when other people are in love, right? So they're like, at the end of the second movie, they're like, okay, best friend from New York number 1 gets a boyfriend. Best friend from New York number 2 gets a boyfriend. Also, mom, the king's mom is going to get a boyfriend. And, and then I believe also Amber's father had a girlfriend, but I also could have made that up entirely.
I think the father was flirting with that other cook.
That's what it was. Yes, but she didn't seem to be here. So that's a little disappointing. But anyway, so you have to think like if somebody ends one of these movies and they're not paired up in love, that's got to be a sign that there's something rotten in their soul.
So was he? I was trying to remember that, and I didn't have time to go back and rewatch the end of the previous movie because I remember there was that pairing about who got paired with what because they didn't really do much with that. But did the Mr. Little, he wasn't paired up with anyone at the end of the movie?
I don't believe so. Now I do feel like we need to go back and check, but I believe he was I believe he did not have someone to pair up with. Or perhaps he did have someone and then he murdered them and left them in the dungeon that no one's ever looked at.
That is possible. Let's see, because I remember who did the queen end up with? The mother queen.
Oh gosh, what's his name? The servant man. She ended up in the same way of like the Princess Diaries, like the queen's always sort of had a thing for her bodyguard. It was something like that. I'm going to look this back up on Wikipedia. It's very important that I know.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at it too, but I don't remember who was what.
Yeah, it is tough when no one really like had a super defined personality. Let's see. So,
like, unless I recognize the actor or actress from other things, I don't remember who they were.
That's fair. Maybe. Oh my gosh, it would have been really interesting. I think if she had been put together with Mr. Little. Because not only because he is a servant, but because then he, what if the whole
betrays
time
the royal family?
Right. He was just a sleeper agent for blah 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 Dalton's something.
Earlier in the movie, there was the Queen Mother was talking to another servant guy, and he put his arm on her in a not romantic but more than friendly manner when they were talking like, oh, look at the kids, they're going to do stuff, and which I thought it was that guy, but I couldn't tell you who it was. Honestly, it all blends together. I don't think it was Little, but
no, I think it was somebody else. Now,
yeah.
Was it? We'll never know.
No, I you know what? I will go back and watch that, and I will edit in at the end of the episode who paired up with who at the end of part 2, and if
Perfect.
Little end up with someone, and then when you're on your trip to DC, I'm guessing you're getting together with family and friends.
We're hanging out with all the Thors.
Perfect. You could play this episode to impress Thor's family and you could listen to like, that's who they all paired up with.
Absolutely.
You
And
could break that out on, because I'm thinking about dropping this on like Christmas Day. You could be like, hey, I know we're all opening gifts and having a great time and drinking and doing whatever it is we do over in DC, but you know what'll be really fun? Listening to my podcast.
oh yeah.
Let's go.
And I think it's important too that I don't let them watch the movies on which they're based first. I think
No.
the key is to just be like, you have to listen to it. Context unknown.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Because we are clearly going in a non-conformist manner of our discussion and all over the place that if anyone who hasn't seen the movie has probably already turned this off by now because they're like, what are these two idiots talking about?
Well, there's so much to cover, and it's like, we can't just talk about the politics. We can't just talk about the friendships and relationships. We can't just talk about how weird it is that no one looked in the dungeon. Or also that the Queen Mother and her daughter go into the dungeon, but like with nobody, not telling anyone where they were, like, the way you would if you were a nobody, but like if you'd been raised to be royalty. I feel like you're probably more used to just like bringing a whole entourage with you every time you hit the bathroom. So
right. Like, I don't see Queen Elizabeth going down to the dungeons of Buckingham Palace, assuming there are some, which they probably are. But
I would hope so.
by herself.
Where else is she going to put Prince Andrew?
What are you talking about? He was framed.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
No, he wasn't framed. For those of you who think I'm defending Prince Andrew, there was oh God, I'm sure they're happy that happened. But I always forget that the young Princess Emily is the daughter of the Queen Mother. I always think that it's like a granddaughter because like the actress who plays the Queen Mother is like 65, and the girl who plays Princess Emily is like 14 or 15. Not that you can't have a kid when you're in your 50s, but it's certainly
it's unusual, I feel like, to have your first one at that point, because you remember the whole point of the first movie was that Prince Cardboard is adopted. So like if Prince Cardboard was adopted, clearly they were trying, and now anytime you say that doesn't generally happen. Of course, somebody's going to be like, actually, my cousin, blah blah blah, whatever. Obviously, but it does seem like even if your cousin had to happen, it seems unlikely that she like adopted a kid and then like 15 years later got accidentally pregnant.
I had an oops baby.
Right. It's just the timeline is a little unusual.
Yeah, but
Anyway, so let's just go ahead and put a rating on this. Obviously, this movie is perfect.
Yes.
Yeah,
on a perfect
end of discussion.
Yeah. I like number 2 better.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of wheel spinning on this. Do you think they'll make a part 4?
That is a great question, because here's the thing. Meghan Markle hasn't done anything super interesting since she had the baby. I mean, she made a documentary, she's gone on some trips, but she hasn't like had another major life step to which you could tie a movie.
Mm-hmm.
From here, where do you go? Is it like, the royal divorce? Is it, the royal secret, rendezvous with various palace intrigue? Like, is it a Christmas Prince 4? My best friend's getting married to Simon for some reason.
I see that being a plot for the 4th one, where it's the wedding. But I think they need to bring back more of a mystery angle so we can get Scooby and the gang.
Right. And this time there's so the first one, obviously there was the acorn with the poem about how it's okay to have an adopted kid. The second one, we obviously had to, what did we do in the second one?
It was like someone was hiding the economics of
what it was. Yeah, somebody was like,
it was going to like this.
Yeah, that's what it was. So that was
like the father's friend or something like that. Like those were like, I'll give the movie credit. They're a little over the top, but they're kind of clever in that. Like the whole acorn thing. Like, why is that in a movie? I don't know, but it is, and you remember it because it's kind of unique. But this one didn't have anything, so we got to go back to that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so if they can come up with another good mystery, and I agree. Best friend getting married to Simon, that could be a movie. And then, we could kind of spin off into Simon, and it's just like his wacky adventures as the palace hanger-on, who also has a degree in economics and is smarter than his cousin, the king. I picture
Like
a lot of shenanigans.
I could see them like fully trusting Simon. He's fully into the group, but something from Simon's past comes back to destroy them. Maybe the woman he was sort of married to in the first one. I don't know what happened to her.
Oh, yeah, I
Um,
completely forgot about that whole subplot.
yeah, a lot of people did.
I,
Um,
in that case, at first I was like, it does seem a little harsh to be like, maybe you shouldn't marry this guy who I thought, had embezzled all this money. But I'd forgotten about that whole subplot. So that wasn't great. I mean, obviously he also tried to steal the crown. Totally understandable, whatever.
right.
But yeah, I did forget that he did like string a lady along for a while and was going to marry her, and like that doesn't speak great to like him as a romantic prospect.
Well, I'm trying to remember back. I thought they were in it together, and the minute like they found out that he wasn't going to be able to get the crown because of whatever, she like dumped him like a bad habit. Like she was,
Yeah.
I thought they presented her as more like power hungry and money grubbing. But it's been a while since I've seen the movie, so I could be
Yeah.
wrong on that. But they could bring her back and being like, "Oh, Simon, I was wrong to leave you. I've turned over a new leaf." But in reality, she's working with I don't know, the Aldovia Mafia to
Ooh.
do something with the crown because all the economic policies have caused people to not turn to organized crime to get something that was happening before it. I don't know. I'm spitballing ideas here, but
I think we do need to bring in like an economics expert to talk more about, things that would happen in a small country that
no,
like
no, 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 no. Just let these people make it up as they go along
right.
because that'll add so much more to the overall story complexity.
You're right. I don't need to look for logic. I just need to look for the sequel. I just need it to be in my eyeballs already. And I think you've got a rich palette of, interesting characters on which you could hang numerous sequels. I think as we sort of move from Queen Amber to, future wife of hanger-on cousin,
Like they could literally redo. Oh my God, they could just redo the Meghan Markle thing more closely. Because if you think about it, Prince Harry was always like the second prince. Like he was never going to be in the line of the throne. That was always Prince William, which is kind of like a cardboard guy, Prince Richard. And now the second favorite son, who's like he's wacky, even though he's a cousin, but they're kind of like brothers, I guess.
yeah.
And he's dating an American and someone who's black. You could play into that.
Mm.
The movie won't because it doesn't touch that stuff.
The movie is not interested in the inner lives of anyone outside of Amber, and frankly is not all that interested in Amber's inner life.
That is true, but I could see like Amber trying to be like, no, I get it. Let me be there for you because you're entering this world that I'm a familiar. I don't know, but
Quick question, just something I think we should touch on because these are, on some level, romance movies. Especially the first one. And I remember
yes.
when King Cardboard and Amber first met. I kind of thought, okay, well, this, the chemistry isn't particularly there. Well, now we've seen them through a wedding and a baby. Do you feel like these are two people who have ever seen each other naked?
Well, they must have because she's pregnant. Maybe not
No,
necessarily with him.
But like in
But
terms of like the yearning, do you feel like that, like, when you see a movie and you're just like, oh man, I definitely believe those two characters have sex, and you're like, wow, they're like real into each other. And then other times you see two characters and you're like, oh, they're siblings. They don't want to have sex. Like, when you watch them, do you think like these are people who are interested in each other in some romantic or sexual capacity?
No, it's Hallmark. It's like the sexual chemistry is at Hallmark level where they kiss and hold hands, and that's how you get pregnant.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Now,
As
compare.
somebody with two kids, is that how you got pregnant?
Yes. I mean, we emailed the stork, but
Smart.
yeah. But now, on the other hand, Simon and what's her face? Because Simon Slut's a sleazeball kind
Melissa?
of. Is it Melissa? I don't remember.
She
Yeah, it is
had
Melissa.
she was definitely named in this movie, and like this happened within the first 10 minutes, and I was like, oh my god, I guess I never knew if you had a name other than best friend from New York #1.
I could totally see them having sex because he has a sliminess to him
Mm-hmm.
that I think will, you know that when he sets his eye on a female conquest, he's going to get it because
Yeah.
that's Simon. Also, even though the assistant didn't have much to do in this movie, like I could see them having the sexual chemistry because that's Simon's character. And I will give credit to the actor; he does play the goofball, kind of slimy but with a heart of gold character very well
Yeah.
for this level of production. So
Yeah,
kudos to you, whatever your name, Theo Devaney. Yeah, that's
I
take it.
will say on some level I do enjoy Simon. Like I would love if just every movie I saw just had Simon somewhere in the background, like causing trouble.
Like even if the movie has no reason for him to be in it, like you're watching
Oh,
I don't know, you're watching the next Avengers movie, for example. That's the first thing that came to
right.
mind. And Simon just like pops up like, "Hey, Captain America." um,
Absolutely. And then Captain America's like, shouldn't you be in Aldovia? Actually, who he would probably know would be T'Challa, because T'Challa
mm,
is royalty, whereas Captain America is 100% America. So I feel like T'Challa maybe, although I guess, well, he was still. I was about to say he was. They didn't let anyone know what was going on in their country, but he was still a player in the world on the world stage. Like he still went to the UN or whatever. So the chance that he somehow met Simon is not zero.
I like where this is going. Well,
Yeah.
we have our plot for the next Avengers movie and the next Royal Christmas Prince movie, and
Yes.
we could combine these cinematic universes together to become an epic universe. And if Simon was there, he would have been able to defeat Thanos very easily.
That's wonderful. Absolutely. Using economics or weird
Yeah.
jokes.
But yeah, so I don't know. I'm if they make a fourth one, I'm all in. If this is the last we hear about this royal family and the shenanigans that takes place, then I'm okay with that too.
I'm okay with it. But in my heart, I will always wonder.
Well, here we go, Jen. We'll make fan fiction and we'll write the continuing
Ooh.
adventures of Aldovia. They should just spin this off into a Netflix television series.
Oh, and everybody needs to have like Amber's voiceover, and in the same way that like Sex in the City always had Carrie's voiceover because she was also a columnist. Like so, in the same way that Amber keeps her blog, and we get those voiceovers, that could be the start of every episode.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I don't know what any of these other actors are doing. Rose
Presumably
McIver,
nothing.
yeah, Rose McIver, who I like as an actress. She was in a show on the CW that's coming to an end, so she probably has the time.
Wait, was she in iZombie?
Yes.
Oh, good for her. I've never actually watched that, but I have friends that really liked it, so I assume it's good.
The most I've seen of that show is about 5 minutes at the beginning of each episode because it at one point in time aired right after one of the CW superhero shows that I watch, and so the DVR would catch like the first couple of minutes before cutting out. And from what I've seen, it looks like it's an entertaining enough show.
Absolutely, and that's all we can ask for.
Yes. So I think I think we've talked all about as much as we could talk about when it comes to the Christmas Prince here, Part 3, the royal baby.
Yeah, no, I think we've covered it. But like I said, obviously, if this comes back, we're going to be right here bringing that news to our listeners who, quite frankly, are here for this sort of content.
What else would they want to listen to? Who else is going to cover a Christmas Prince on their podcast? Not Thor. He ain't going to do that. I mean, I guess he could, but he probably won't, unless he did. I don't know. I don't pay attention exactly what all of his episodes are, but
nor do I. But I'll see what I could do about getting him to cover the movies that matter.
No, he's going to come in on our territory.
Okay, I'm sorry. I will physically fight him if he tries to
Thank
cover
you.
this important movie.
Thank you.
This
You unplug his computer when he does whatever it is he does when podcasting. You're like, nope, nope. You take it and you just whip it out the window, and you're like, haha, in your face. So,
perfect.
all right. Well, I'm going to go to bed right now because when you have two under two and one that doesn't sleep throughout the night yet, you get
Oh,
pretty tired.
oh man. Yeah, sometimes one time it was like 2 a.m. and my dog barked. It was awful. I get it.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
Yeah.
Nothing, no difference, no difference.
Well,
So,
in this case, the dog had locked himself in the bathroom. It was pretty similar, but yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Cool.
I have so many questions about how something like that can happen, but I'm not going to ask because I don't know if I want to know the answer.
Sure,
But have yourself a Merry Christmas, John. Have
You
yourself a Happy
too,
New Year.
of
Um,
course.
I think this is probably going to be our last show of the year, so we'll be back in 2020. Maybe Gorehound will come back. I don't know. Maybe not. He's busy being daddy, so that works out.
Yeah.
But we
We
may.
miss you. We miss you, Gorehound. We do.
I'm indifferent.
Well,
I'm fine. No,
yeah.
I'm kidding. Although I was talking to someone at a funeral not that long ago, as one would, who might be interested in joining our intrepid crew. So I gotta reach back out to him. So that's the key, folks. If you're wanting to get a podcast, go to funerals and start talking about your podcast to people. Or rather, in my case, have your wife bring up your podcast and then see who bites, because that's what you do at wakes and funerals.
Definitely.
All right. I'll talk to you later, Jen. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
You've been listening to the All New CultureCast, where every episode is all new. Check out new episodes and our back catalog at allnewculturecast.libsyn.com. We could also be found on iTunes. The All New CultureCast, a saltwater production, copyright 2019. Thanks for listening.
Hey everyone, Nick here. Just giving a follow-up to what we talked a little bit about during the podcast. I went back and watched the ending of A Christmas Prince, The Royal Wedding, and turned out that Mr. Little did sort of have an implied romance at the very end of the movie with Miss Everill as they danced together in a seemingly more than friendly way. Miss Everill being the older, sort of stern palace advisor played by Sarah Douglas. So I texted Jen that information because this, of course, was not referenced at all in the third movie, probably because they wanted to forget about it because he was the villain. And Jen's response was, maybe we'll get a Christmas Prince 2.5 June explaining where it all went wrong.